We really need to talk about this feeling, this anxiety that's kind of creeping in for so many of us right now. It's a very modern problem, but the answer might just be ancient.
No, really let that sink in for a second. You wake up, you log on, and bam, you realize a piece of code can now do in seconds what takes you a whole week. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's that feeling, right? That cold shiver that just runs right down your spine the moment you realize your expertise might actually have an expiration date. That little voice that asks, if I'm not useful to the economy anymore, then what am I?
And look, you did everything you were supposed to do. You spent 20 years climbing that ladder, perfecting your skills, optimizing yourself for maximum productivity. You built a whole career on being efficient and valuable. You hit your stride, you hit 40, and suddenly it feels like the entire game just changed. That question mark at the end there, yeah, it feels heavy. I get it. Okay, but here's the pivot. This is the reframe. What if our entire goal, this idea that our value is tied to our output, is the very thing making us so vulnerable? What if the real path to security isn't about becoming even more efficient, but something else entirely?
So, to figure this out, we're gonna go way back, like 2,300 years back, to a simple story about a Taoist philosopher named Zhuangzi, a carpenter, and a really, really weird-looking tree. Okay, so Zhuangzi sees this absolutely massive oak tree. Huge. But it's kind of hideous. The trunk is all twisted, the branches are gnarled and crooked. It's the total opposite of a perfect, straight tree. And then a carpenter comes along, takes one look at it, and
Zhuangzi just nails it. The tree was useless to the carpenter. See, it couldn't be easily measured or chopped up or turned into a product. It just didn't fit the carpenter's very narrow definition of what has value.
And this is the punchline. Because it couldn't be turned into a table or a tool, nobody bothered it. It was just left alone. And because it was left alone, it was allowed to grow into this magnificent, giant being that gave shade to literally thousands. Its supposed weakness was actually its greatest strength. Its uselessness is what saved it.
All right, let's bring that right back to here and now. Today, the ultimate carpenter, the one that's always looking for the straightest, most predictable, most efficient timber it can find, well, that's AI. The system is scanning for anything it can easily process and turn into output. So here we are. We have a choice. We can spend all our energy trying to be that straight timber, perfectly optimized, our skills honed for maximum economic utility. But that path, it makes us a replaceable tool. Or we can be the gnarled tree, unique, messy, and valuable in a way that can never be measured as simple output. And that makes you irreplaceable. This whole idea actually has a name, Wuyong, the power of being useless. Now let's be super clear, this is not an excuse to be lazy, not at all. It's a conscious, strategic refusal to let your entire worth be defined by your function in some machine. It's about deciding to be more than just a tool. And this is where it gets really cool, because this is where our real power is. It's in all the things that the AI carpenter can't use. It's your weird hobbies that have absolutely no economic point. It's your complicated, messy, beautiful human emotions. It's your creativity that zigs when everyone else sags. It's even your ability to just exist without having to produce something of value. These are your superpowers now. So, how do we actually do this? Well, it's not about learning some new skill, it's a mindset shift. First, you just consciously stop trying to optimize every last part of yourself for the market. Second, you start leaning into your quirks, your twisted parts, the joys that don't produce a single thing. And third, you start the real work of finding your value as a human being, not just a human doing. And when you do that, everything changes. That fear of hitting 40, that fear of becoming irrelevant, let's just flip that completely on its head. Maybe 40 is the age when you finally have enough wisdom to stop letting the world chop you up for its own projects. Maybe it's when you finally decide to grow into your own giant, twisted, magnificent self. So I'll just leave you with this one thought. As the machines take over all the so-called useful tasks, we're left with a really profound question. Does that make us obsolete? Does it rob us of our purpose? Or, just maybe, does it finally truly set us free to discover who we really are when we have nothing left to prove?
Subscribe for daily wisdom.